Hey, hey, teach me how to dougie, hey. They be like, Smooth, what? Can you teach me how to dougie? You know why? Cause all the girls love me, hey. All I need is a beat that's super bumpin'.
Welcome back to another Swift tutorial. Today we're actually going to talk about protocols and how to have classes conform to those protocols. So to get started, you're certainly going to want to go ahead and download the beta for Xcode 6. If this is sometime in the future and the beta actually is the public version, then you would just download it straight from the App Store itself. So for now, you will actually need to have a developer account in order to access any of these new things that are awesome in Xcode 6. And you can either get started with a playground, or in my case, I have this thing already set up. So we are going to implement one of my favorite protocols, really. It is the Douglas protocol. And some of you who may be familiar with the Douglas protocol are aware that it can in fact be taught to others, and that if one is in fact in conformance with the Douglas protocol, all of the bitches will love that particular individual. So these are some important things to keep in mind. To declare a protocol in Swift is actually very simple. We legitimately just type lowercase protocol, and in this case we're going to call it uppercase Douglas with open brackets. So to properly adhere to the Douglas protocol, there are two things that one must do. One must first put your hands out in front. And one must also lean side to side. If one is capable of doing these two things, then it can be argued that that person is adhering to the Douglas protocol. So we've got this protocol defined, but we don't really have anything that adheres to it, so we need to define a class that adheres to the Douglas protocol. In this case, we will say this is a student of Douglas, and literally we are going to teach this class how to dougie. So we use uppercase for the name of the class, and then uppercase also for the protocol that the class is following, with this colon in between and open brackets. You notice that as soon as we have defined our class as the student of Douglas, we get a compiler error, and if we click on the compiler error, we'll see that type student of Douglas does not conform to the protocol Douglas. So basically what we've said is we're going to teach this class how to dougie, but we haven't actually taught it how to dougie yet. So unless we actually implement the functions in the Douglas protocol on this particular class, this poor student of Douglas, for the moment, can't dougie. So in order to teach it how to dougie, we need to implement the actual functions. So if we start actually just typing the name of the function, put your hands out in front, Xcode will automatically fill it in for us. So we've got this one, put your hands out in front, and let's just say, I don't know, I put my hands out in front. Okay. There's another one called, if we just start typing lean side to side, then we get our function lean side to side. Awesome. So this particular class, now you notice that since we implemented both of the methods that are in the Douglas protocol, our class is now in full conformance with the Douglas protocol. And so our compiler error disappears because we said we're going to teach you how to dougie, and in fact we did teach this class how to dougie. So that is an awesome thing. Now what I want to do here is create another class that does not adhere to the Douglas protocol. We're just going to call this a normal person. Okay, and this is going to kind of be for later because we want to talk about, what's the difference between a class that conforms to the Douglas protocol and a class that does not conform to the Douglas protocol. How might we be able to check if a class does conform to a protocol and if a class does not conform to a protocol? These are kind of important things later on, so you can differentiate the types of things that you're working with. So first thing that we're going to do right here is we're just going to simply declare that there is a student of Douglas present. We're going to call him Dougie, and he is a student of Douglas. And we're just going to use the basic student of Douglas constructor function, which if you don't already decide to implement that function, it already exists. But what we could do right here if we wanted to is we could go init, and that's the same function. So either way, how you want to do that, you don't necessarily have to declare it. But now because we have this class, the student of Douglas, that can in fact Dougie, I think that we should Dougie. So we're going to have it put its hands out in front. We're going to have it lean side to side. And if we look at our output right here, you'll see that it says, I put my hands out in front and I lean side to side. So we have, at this point, created a class that is, in fact, in conformance with the Douglas protocol. It is implementing all of the functions of the Douglas protocol. We've effectively taught something how to Dougie. So this is rather important. At this point, what we want to do is differentiate between someone who can Dougie and someone who cannot Dougie. So we're going to create another variable, another instance of a class, and we're going to call this person I cannot Dougie. And this is a normal person. So we're going to use our normal person constructor function. Okay. So if we were to try to call the functions that are typically associated with Dougieing, such as putting one's hands out in front or leaning side to side, you'll notice that we can't actually do that, that we start getting warnings. So if we try to put our hands out in front, because I mean, come on, this person can't Dougie. Like, seriously, we're going to get a compiler error, see? It says, normal person does not have a member named put your hands out in front. Because basically, this normal person is a poser who was not taught how to properly Dougie. So obviously, it can't just put its hands out in front like the other individual who can, in fact, Dougie. So this is really cool.